I'm Healthy Emmie. I'm a nutritionist and a weight loss specialist, and today I'm going to be revealing the #1 reason why you're bloated. The #1 reason is that most people are not going to watch this video in its entirety because they think that there is one quick fix that's gonna flip the switch and they'll be good to go. And it's those same people that won't watch this entire video that will click off to another one. They're not gonna like what they hear there. They'll click off to another. They'll try that out. It won't work by tomorrow, so they gotta try something new. And they're gonna deal with chronic bloating for the rest of their lives because they are in a state of fight or flight and they are not in rest and digest. And that chronic, erratic, chaotic nature is fueling the issue digestively. They could have a perfect diet, perfect exercise, perfect life. But if they are jumping around with this sense of urgency and a rushed nature looking for that one quick fix, they are never going to find it. But it is you who is going to watch this video from beginning to end in its entirety that is going to address all of the topics that we're talking about today through my little dominoes here that actually will get your body back into balance. You are not broken, therefore you cannot be fixed. That's a saying that I heard recently. And we are not going to talk about the one quick fix that is going to fix you. We're going to talk about how to bring your scale back into balance because you are a resilient, adaptable human that absolutely has the capability of doing so. Today, I am showing you 3 Kickstart fixes, quick things you can do now to get things moving in the right direction, 3 possible lifestyle causes of your bloating, 3 possible diet causes, which I now realize, look how Halloween-y this one is. And then the last one here that I probably shouldn't pick up, I've learned my lesson, is 3 emotional causes of your bloating. So let's get into it. Kickstarter #1 is eat more soluble fiber. There are 2 types of fiber, insoluble fiber and soluble fiber. Insoluble fiber is what creates bulk in the stool. It actually gives your stool volume, whereas soluble fiber forms this gelatinous texture that pulls water into the intestines, into the colon, so that everything can move along. So both of these types of fiber are extraordinarily important. Most people don't get enough of either, but you need to make sure you're getting enough of both. If you're eating plenty of vegetable matter, then you're getting in plenty of insoluble fiber, leafy greens, broccoli, all the vegetables you can think of. But a lot of people skip out on soluble fiber, which again is gonna pull water into the digestive tract so that you don't just have a bunch of stool that's sitting in your stomach, it's actually all moving along. So my action step for you is to add 1 extra serving of soluble fiber every day starting today. You can get this from chia seed, flaxseed, beans, apples, psyllium husk. I truly think the easiest way to do this is to take a tablespoon of ground flaxseed and add it into your oatmeal in the morning. You also could do a tablespoon of chia seeds, soak it in water beforehand so that it starts to suck up the water, add that to your oatmeal. You could even do both. Kickstarter #2, proper hydration. Keyword proper, because just guzzling a bunch of water doesn't mean that you're hydrated. In fact, it's estimated that about 75% of adults are dehydrated. Hydration is key for gut motility. Motility means how well everything is moving through. Think of it this way. Think of it like you have a sponge that's all dirty. If you're trying to clean that sponge, but there's no water to do so, you're gonna have a tough job getting everything out of there. So making sure that you are hydrated is imperative. But here's the problem. A lot of people drink water, but they're not hydrated. How can that be? Because hydration is more than just whether or not you're drinking water. We're also talking about your electrolyte balance. And that's not only going to affect your bloating, but also it's going to affect brain fog, inconsistent sleep, always feeling tired and run down and just not energized. And if you're feeling like this, I want to introduce you to Peak's 2-part ritual. You've heard me talk about Peak time and time again. These are my favorite products to date from them. First and foremost, look at the colors. They're gorgeous, but also some of the best tasting products, truly, I've ever tried as far as electrolytes go. So you start your day with the BT Foundation, which is the beauty electrolyte, which hydrates your skin, smooths its appearance, it fuels all-day energy, and it has bioavailable minerals that are great for your skin, hair, nails. And then in the evening, you wind down with the RE Foundation, which is a calming electrolyte. It contains Peak's triple biomaxed magnesium to melt away tension, support deep, restful sleep without any grogginess in the morning. If you want to make sure that you're properly hydrated so that everything can move along the way that it's supposed to digestion-wise, I highly recommend Peak's 2-part ritual. And you know how high my standards are. I don't do the artificial junk and the fillers, and this has no artificial ingredients, no fillers, no sugar. I highly recommend this and it passes my test. I have a link that gets you up to 20% off for life and you get a free gift. So that is linked down below, and thank you to Peak for sponsoring today's video. I often get asked, how much water should we drink? Is it 8 cups? What's the calculation? Here's what you're gonna do. If you weigh yourself in pounds, let's say that you weigh 150 pounds, you're gonna divide that number by 2, that would be 75, and that's how many ounces of water you should drink a day. If you weigh yourself in kilos, however many kilos you weigh, let's say that you weigh 70 kilos, that's how many ounces of water you should be drinking a day. But remember, drinking water and actually being hydrated are different, so. Kickstarter number 3 is to track everything that you're eating and track your symptoms. The goal here is to identify patterns and keep you from chaotically guessing and just pulling at grasping straws. Why can't I find that figure of speech? You know what I'm trying to say. And to get you to identify A leads to B. Oh wow, I ended up bloated every Tuesday, and every Tuesday we have a work lunch at the Mexican place. Those two things are probably correlated. A great way to do this is in the Slim program, because in my Slim app, there is a food diary where you can track everything that you're eating, and we have a journal function, so you can journal if you're experiencing bloating as well. But even if you're not in my Slim program, you can do this manually. You can get from the dollar store a journal, write down, put a T-chart, here's what I ate, here's what my symptoms were or were not. And it's good too, not just to identify when you're bloating and when you're experiencing distress intestinally, but also to identify when you're feeling good, because then you can find the foods that you can make friends with again. A lot of this is caused by emotional distress around food and a threat that food is to you. And so if we can identify foods that I do really well with these foods, I love these foods, these are great for my digestion, then you're already shifting from fight or flight into rest and digest. Moving on to the lifestyle causes of bloating. Number 1 here, rushed eating. When you eat too quickly, you are swallowing excess air and you're not chewing your food enough. There are digestive enzymes within our saliva that are going to help break down the food before it gets to your stomach. So if you are not allowing enough time for the food to sit in the mouth where digestion begins, then by the time it gets to your stomach has way too much work on its hands, which is going to lead to bloating, distress, and inflammation. Rushed eating can be really sneaky too, because it doesn't just mean time. It means whether or not you're actually putting mental energy toward what you're eating. So if you're eating while you're driving, or for some people eating while you're working, if you're not there, if you're not giving enough attention to what you're eating, this is also going to contribute to the bloating. So this is rushed in a sense of time, but also rushed in a sense of how much mental energy are you actually allocating to being present with your food. My action step for you today is to chew your food at least 30 times before swallowing at one meal today. The second cause of bloating from a lifestyle perspective is a sedentary lifestyle. Gut motility is stimulated by movement. Most people today sit for 8 to 10 hours a day. So my action step for you today is to get up at least once an hour and just move a little bit. I'm not going to tell you have to go run on the treadmill for 6 miles. Instead, because what that does is really it encourages more sitting, because people run 6 miles and then they sit all day, where they're better off just getting up every hour and moving and getting blood flowing and getting things going than they are with sitting for these extended periods of time. I have a walking pad that I absolutely love that I use under my desk. And if that is a possibility for you, if you do work from home, I would encourage that. Of course, the gold standard that we usually aim for is at least 10,000 steps a day, but if that is too much for you, work your way up, low and slow, baby. The next lifestyle cause that we have here is inconsistent meal timing. Our gut has its own circadian rhythm, which I just love that factoid so much, because our gut has 100 trillion bacteria that live in it, that they want to eat at certain times, they want to sleep at certain times, they have their own little lives down here. And if we're eating at inconsistent times, then they don't know when to wake up and do their job. But if we eat at consistent times every day, then our gut knows, hey, now is time to digest, now is time to rest. And it is the inconsistency and the mismatch of our schedule versus our gut's schedule that's going to cause a lot of the bloating issues that we see. Our gut and our brain are so closely communicating, and the unpredictability and the erratic, chaotic nature of not eating consistently at the same times, around the same times, day to day, is really going to disrupt that communication. So my action step for you is to choose 3 or 4 meal times during the day within I would say about an hour, quote unquote, radius, let's say, where you're going to eat, to help establish some regularity with your gut. Now moving on to diet causes of bloating. Diet cause of bloating number 1 is dairy. For the most part, humans were not designed to drink milk, to consume the milk from another species. We are designed to have human milk until, you wean off of it, but we're not designed to drink the milk of another species that's intended for that species to, I'll just say it candidly, to get fat. Look at this map. Most people are going to be lactose intolerant. Almost 100% of Asian individuals are lactose intolerant. As humans, we're just not meant for it. Undigested lactose ferments in the colon, which is why people get gas and cramping and bloating when they consume it. This is one of the biggest impacts that I see when it comes to dietary changes as far as bloating goes, in terms of people see relief within a week. So my action step for you, if you are consuming dairy, is to try out a dairy-free week. But here's the thing, don't go replacing that dairy with dairy alternatives like vegan cheese and all the stuff that's labeled dairy-free vegan, because those are highly processed with tons of salt and oils and fillers and gums. Make this your opportunity to use my free plate builder calculator, for example, in the description bar, and build your meals based on that, real whole foods, as opposed to relying on dairy as one of your main food groups here. So there are plenty of ways to get it. The protein and calcium that you used to get from dairy through whole plant foods, my free plate builder calculator is linked down below. But my action step for you is to try out a week without dairy and see how it impacts your stomach. The next cause of the issues is artificial sweeteners. I know that you think that you are doing your body well with artificial sweeteners because you're not having real sugar, but in a lot of cases, real sugar is a better bet, because the artificial sweeteners can cause distress gastrointestinally. So these artificial sweeteners are known to wreak havoc on the gut microbiome, and the gut microbiome is that's the keystone of all of this, is making sure that your gut microbiome is operating to its top capacity. The problem with these artificial sweeteners is that they go to the colon where they ferment and they cause gas and they cause water retention. And gas and water retention in that region is going to give you that big puffy feeling down there. If you are wanting to stay away from sugar, people do better with monk fruit or with stevia. This is a great transition away from the artificial sweeteners, and they still may cause gastro distress in some people, but for many people, they see a dramatic improvement. If you are somebody that doesn't want, the extra calories from the sugar, those are calorie-free options that are a little bit gentler on the gut. So the ones that you want to be removing are the etols, the ones that end in ITOL, erythritol, sorbitol, xylitol. Those are the ones that you want to kick the can with. And aspartame, of course. That's the big no-no. The next diet issue is that you are eating too late at night. When you eat during the day, the body's putting all of that to use. You are in action mode, you're in go mode, you're doing things. See how I'm moving my hands right now? Like, that's burning calories. The food that I ate for breakfast is being put to use right now. Whereas at the end of the day, your body shifts into rest and recovery and recharge mode. And it can't do all of that if all of this food is coming in. Think of it like you have a person who's a chef, but they're also the cleaning crew. And they're the chef during the day, and then they're the cleaning crew at night. If their job at night is to clean everything up, but you make a delivery at 10 p.m. and you say, here's all the food to cook that we need ready for tomorrow, the chef's gonna say, where were you all day? I was waiting all day for this food. And now I'm going into cleaning mode, which is what the body does when you sleep. Your body cleans everything up, it recharges. It does not have the energy to focus on food. So when it has to focus on food at nighttime, it can't do everything else that it's meant to do. Your hormones get thrown off, you get terrible sleep, you're tired the next day, you're groggy, you're sluggish, you don't want to get a workout in. It's a disaster beyond just bloating. The main issue that I was talking about is the fact that your body's trying to sleep and it doesn't have the energy to do all this right now when you're tired at night. But on top of that, it is just a wreck for your body overall to eat at night. How late is too late? You want to leave ideally 3 hours at least between your last meal and when you go to bed. So my action step for you is to start this week by just noticing and gaining awareness and inventory of how much time you actually put between your last meal and going to sleep. And then the goal that you can get into next week is to add a half hour to that, add 30 minutes to it, and work your way up. This doesn't have to be a huge overhaul because we want it to be sticky. Now let's talk about the most important, the emotional causes of bloating. Number one, the fix-it mentality. I have had the absolute pleasure and honor of working with a lot of people. And first off, let me say, just the most pure souls I have worked with, truly blessed beyond imagination with just the greatest people that I have had the pleasure of working with. A common thread that ties many of the individuals that struggle with bloating together that I have worked with is the fix-it mentality. And what I mean by this is they are chronically looking for the light switch that's gonna flip all this off because they are quote unquote broken. I heard a saying recently that I wanna share with you, and the saying is, you are not broken, so you cannot be fixed. You are a breathing, living, resilient human, and humans are incredible because of how adaptable the body is. Things are just a little bit off, they're a little bit wonky, they're leaning in one direction. You are not something that we're gonna just flip a switch and you used to be broken and now you're fixed. We're gonna take where you are right now and we're gonna make little tweaks and changes. We're gonna chip away at this until we get you back into an equilibrium and a balance. So think of it like the scale is a little bit tilted in the wrong direction. Things are a little bit wonky, and we're just gonna put you back into balance. The scale wasn't broken. We didn't throw out the scale and bring in a new one. We just had to adjust things a bit to get you back into balance. And what I often find with the chronic fix-it people is they're not giving it enough time for the body to adjust. They try one thing, and when that one thing doesn't work, they completely jump ship to something else. And it is so much jumping around from one thing to another, which is going to stress out the body even more and make this situation even more difficult to find an answer to. The next emotional issue that I see here is looking at food as a threat. And I talked about this a little bit earlier, that when food is considered a threat, I need my blocks. When food is considered a threat, you are putting your body into fight or flight. And when your body is in fight or flight and it's not in rest and digest, then of course it's not going to digest food well. And blood is going to flow away from your digestive tract toward your arms and your legs because your mind perceives that there's a threat, that there's a lion that you need to run from. And so digestion is not going to occur. Food is your friend. Food is something that nature, God, the universe, however you look at it, gave to us to fuel us. And we have it in abundance. And when we choose the foods that nourish us, our body works the way it was meant to. Nature did not design you to have issues with food. Nature designed it so that there's you, there's the food, and you guys go together like perfect puzzle pieces. So remind yourself that nature designed you to have this beautiful, harmonious, synergistic relationship with food where you guys get together, you get along swimmingly. And I promise you, you can heal that. You can heal your relationship with food. But remember, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you are right. And the last one here that I'm going to represent through red is emotional trauma. If you haven't read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, this would be a great read for you to understand how much trauma becomes trapped in us. And I know a lot of people think, oh, that's woo-woo, that's not silly, it's not scientific. Pfft. Read that book, read The Body Keeps the Score, and that'll prove to you how scientifically backed this is, that your body holds on to trauma, and a lot of the trauma is held here in the stomach, and the gut is the second brain. So whether that is through food avoidance or it is through a hyper relationship with food, with using food to numb and to cope and to forget, it's going to be different for everybody, but to recognize that a lot of times it's not about what you're eating, but it's about what's eating you. And remember, there's big T trauma and there's little t trauma. So just because you didn't have the trauma that you think is trauma that's worth having emotional issues over, it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, you guys, my camera cut out while I was talking about something extraordinarily important, which is the validity of your trauma. And a lot of trauma is suppressed, and I know a lot of people who they have a tough armor and a tough exterior, but on the inside, they've been through some stuff. And I don't want you to underestimate how intense that trauma is, because here's the thing. Being a human is not easy. Life is not easy. As the Buddha says, life is suffering. To live is to suffer. At the end of the day, we're animals that are out here trying to survive. And most animals live, to be honest, a pretty difficult existence. It is not easy to be human. I don't know anybody who has had a life that has no difficulty. And this doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It means that you're human, and life is hard and life is tough, and it's no one's fault. But this is the reality that we deal with, and we have to, especially as animals that have higher level thinking capabilities, work through it and deal with it if we want to find peace and we want to lower our suffering as much as possible. So you have been through some stuff. There is some little t trauma to address, and I don't want you to overlook it and think that you're not worthy of dealing with that. So remember too, a lot of this is about the food, but a lot of it is about what's going on in here as well, and that has to be addressed. I have a huge mindset component within the Slim program. I have journaling every day. I have meditations every single day to help work through this and to uncover what is really going on here that caused my relationship and my body and my relationship with my body and my relationship with food to be so tumultuous. Because at the end of the day, it's our relationship with ourselves that has to be addressed. I'm really proud of you if you made it to this point of the video. This is not, especially toward the end there, talking about things that are difficult to talk about and aren't easy to really face. And so I appreciate you for that, and I see you, and I want to make some space for you today in being brave enough to do that. So congratulations to you. And if you were brave enough to do so, leave me an emoji in the comments. You can choose any emoji that you want to show me how brave you were today to make it to this point of the video. And I'm going to show you some love in the comments as well. I love you, honeys, and I'll see you in my next video.